note, for maximum picture quality, it may be necessary to adjust the tracking control on your VCR.
Just like his heroes in the old samurai movies, Kurosawa's later career emerged from the wilderness to prove there was still one last fight in the old man, and he was going to show everyone that you cannot ever count the old master out. And it wasn't just one more fight. Rejuvenated by the success of Kagemusha, he would go on to make 5 more films in the 80s and 90s, cementing his place in movie legend. One of these movies was Ran, an incredible, ambitious and spectacular epic, and one of the bleakest of his careers. But this isn't bleak, this is Adjust Your Tracking, a podcast on adventure to watch a century of cinema decade by decade, year by year, and I am one half of your hosts, Liam. And with me is...
Hello, I'm Ollie, and I want to congratulate you on saying Kurosawa's name correctly. You didn't put like 3 G's in it.
I might have written it out phonetically. But I think I got the film said wrong. Kagemusha? That one I was worrying about, I don't know. People know that's fine.
The 1980 one or whatever it was.
Yeah, the first one. And this one is Ran. I said Ran last week, but it's Ran.
Because he considers that like his not early attempt at doing this film, but like his kind of like, I can't think what I'm trying to say. Like a dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
And that he was able to secure backing because of the success of Kagemusha.
It was like he had a pair of films and he wanted to kind of tell both of them or something.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, really cool. How are you?
I'm okay. It's a sleepy 9:15 on a Friday, and we're recording podcast, and it's now winter, so it went dark hours ago, which sucks. Well, I guess it's not winter, it's fall.
Yeah, autumn.
I know, yeah, I'm terrible.
Also, do you want to feel old?
No.
So today marks, as of recording, the 30th anniversary of Nevermind and Blood Sugar Sex and Magic coming out.
Oh, cool.
And I'm sure there's another album that came out on the same day, but I can't remember what it is. Anyway.
To be fair, that doesn't make me feel that old because I don't remember either of those albums coming out.
I do, because my sister had them both.
I think my dad bought Nevermind. I think
your dad had like every CD known to the human race, though.
Well, yeah,
like,
okay.
That's what I loved going around to your house as a kid. Though there was always music on all the time, and it was nice.
It was nice.
It was nice.
How are you, Ollie?
I'm good. I'm quite upbeat this week, so I got to see one of my favourite bands live, and it was like I think the first music event I've been to in like 18, 19 months now.
Oh,
so
wow,
that was good.
So who is it?
I went to go and see Genesis.
What? No, you didn't.
I did. I went to go see Genesis.
I didn't know Genesis for playing.
Yeah, it's called The Last Domino, so it's their last ever. Well, I mean, they said that back in 2007. It was their last ever tour.
Yeah, but it's kind of like horror franchises. If there's not a film in the middle that's called The Final Chapter, then it's not. You haven't done it properly.
Yeah, that's true. But this is definitely going to be their last. I mean, Phil's not in the best of health. Like, he had to sit down through the whole show.
Oh, no.
So he wasn't playing drums. But his son was playing drums. So I guess by relation, Phil's still on the drums somehow. But like it was ace. Like okay, they're not in their prime anymore.
Sure. I mean, they must be like 80 or something.
Nah, they're like early 70s, I think.
Okay.
You know, I've read a lot about people saying they're kind of like sullying the Genesis brand by kind of coming back out when they're 70 and probably not at their peak. But I think there's something to having a bunch of 70-year-olds like rock out on stage and kind of like living their best life. I think it's quite endearing, to be honest. And, you know, like I said before, they put on a great show, so I don't know. And they played some of my favourites like Mama, where Phil sounds like he's on a 20-a-day smoking habit. Land of Confusion, Home by the Sea, which is an amazing song. Firth of the Fifth, Domino. Yeah, all the good ones.
Oh, cool.
I was kind of hoping that Peter Gabriel might pop up wearing his Sunflower costume at some point just to surprise us, but he didn't do that.
So it was like, it was Genesis, like proper like Phil Genesis.
Yeah, it's like late 70s, 80s era Genesis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, Phil was always in Genesis. He was on the drums, wasn't he, originally, and then Peter Gabriel was on vocals,
Yeah,
and then eventually, like, Peter Gabriel left, then another guitarist left, and then it was just a trio.
Like a sledgehammer came bashing through the band. Let's get it made.
Going back to your dad, though, I remember having many conversations with your dad about Genesis, because he was very much a big fan of Peter Gabriel, wasn't he?
Yeah, he loves all that prog stuff and things. Yeah.
But it was a fantastic show. Like I said, they're getting older, so they're not in their prime, but for however old they are, it was awesome. I really enjoyed myself, and like I'm not a person that kind of lets myself go at shows and just sings or whatever. I just kind of stand and nod.
Yeah, sure.
But this, I was just full on belting out every tune, probably annoying everybody around me.
No, it's about time he did it. I've been to so many gigs with you, and you stand there like a monolith.
Lots of air drumming and air guitaring around me. I wasn't one of the air guitarists or drums this time, but there was a lot of people doing the Phil Collins fills and stuff like that all around.
Is Easy Lover? Did you play that, or did you not do any? I guess that's Phil Collins solo, isn't it?
Solo, yeah. It was just all Genesis, but they did play some Peter Gabriel stuff, and Phil sang those.
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, they're a band that have got songs that are like 15 minutes long, so just be prepared. But like all prog songs, they pretty much are like 3 songs. They pretty much just like put together, so they don't say, it's not like the same song non-stop for like
sure, it's like acts or something, like
almost
movements. That's what they call it, isn't it? Movements in music,
I guess so. Yeah
relate everything to film because I'm that basic.
But yeah, Phil was also like a big person growing up in my family, like, because my dad always had Phil Collins or Phil Collins Genesis era playing in his car, and my sister was obsessed with the film Buster.
I've never seen that.
It's where he plays one of the great, the train robbers. I think what's her name? Isn't it Julie Walters?
Julie Walters, yeah.
Apparently, like, I haven't seen Buster since I was a kid, but apparently it's not a very good film, but I just remember it being on a lot. And he's also in Hook, wasn't he? Like, briefly.
Is he in Hook?
Yeah, he plays like the police officer that comes around to investigate when the kids get like disappeared.
No way, does he?
Yeah.
No way. That's so weird.
I'm not sure if he was in anything else, but yeah.
He's in quite a lot, really, because he plays Inspector Good. That's a great name. He's in Booster. Apparently he was cut out of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Really? He must have been like a kid in that, though.
Yeah, it says Vulgarian child, so I guess it's a child. He was in Frauds, I don't know what that is. He was in And the Band Played On, don't know what that is.
So he was like a child actor then?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, interesting.
He was in A Hard Day's Night.
Wow.
I think he was just in a crowd. I think it's a bit much to credit him in that. I think there were a lot of kids in the crowd in that. He was a voice in Bolto. Everyone remembers Bolto.
The dog film cartoon.
Yeah. Well, Wolf, but yeah.
Was he a wolf? Well, they're a relation of the dog.
He was a voice in Jungle Book 2 with Haley Joel Osment playing Mowgli.
Good casting there, Disney. So anyway, how have you been this week?
You already asked me that. I'm fine.
Did I? You're good. Have you been up to anything then?
God, have I been up to anything? Not really, because I'm moving because of things. So I've spent the week trying to organise all that, and I've got nowhere with it. So, because finding an apartment and finding a housemate and all the rest of it is a nightmare thing that no one should ever have to try and go through. So that's my fun at the moment.
So you haven't found anyone just as of yet?
No, there've been a couple of great apartments and great people, but the 3 people I've kind of messaged, I've gone like, "Hello, I would like to live with you." Only one of them got back to me, and it was a very, very polite no.
Oh, okay.
But the other 2 haven't got back to me.
So anybody listening in the Brighton area who
sure.
needs a housemate or whatever, just drop us a line at Twitter. We are at Adjust Your Track with a YR, not a your.
Hey, dropping it early before people drop out the episode. So you've been watching anything in your busy week?
I have watched bugger all because we only recorded on Monday, and yeah, I haven't watched anything. I've watched a bit of a BBC TV show called Vigil, but that's about it.
What's Vigil?
It's like a murder mystery whodunit by the makers of Line of Duty, but it's set on a submarine. But it's one of these submarines that can't, like, they're constantly...
Can't slow down.
Like, yeah, they can't slow down. It's like speed. But no, they can't, like, really come up to the surface because they've got to constantly be on patrol and, like, be hidden and not to, like, detect any, like, enemy threats or whatever. But it's all right. I mean, I find a lot of... I've already gone on this rant before that I just find a lot of serialized TV stuff a bit, I don't know, meh. But yeah, it's all right so far. It's something to watch when you're having your tea.
Yeah, okay, it reaches those lofty heights.
Yeah, that's all I've watched. What about yourself?
Okay, I've got a few to go through. New releases as always. I try to just stick to the new releases on these. I watched The Guilty, which remake of a Danish film that I think was also called The Guilty, but I can't remember.
Okay.
Directed by Antoine Fuqua, and it stars Jakey G as an emergency call person, whatever they're called, dispatcher. Yeah, and basically. It's just him and phone calls throughout the whole thing, really, and then the people in his office, and some calls that he's taking start escalating, and he starts getting really caught up in it, and you start learning why he's a dispatch officer and not out on the street because he's clearly a cop and stuff like that, and it all kind of weaves in and stuff like that, really.
Do you recommend it?
I thought it was okay, actually. It's getting quite sniffy reviews. I mean, it's only playing at like festivals at the moment, but I think it's going to be on Netflix.
Okay.
It's getting quite sniffy reviews, but I thought it was okay, actually. I was alright with it. I don't know. Maybe if I watch it again, I might be like, oh, okay, it's not that good, but I don't know. I thought it was quite captivating.
Well, as long as the film entertains you, then that's all it needs to do. That's like its bare bones. As long as anything more is a bonus. So, you know.
I think it's one of those things that, like, Gyllenhaal's character's really horrible, really.
Right.
And I think because you're being asked to spend all that time with him, I think maybe that's been an issue for people. I think maybe.
Right, okay.
I also watched...
so it's a film Wim Wenders, a film he won't, like...
No, he'd like it because a white person's the lead.
Oh, okay, got it.
Allegedly, I don't know. I watched the sequel to Escape Room Tournament of Champions.
Oh, see, I actually found the first one quite enjoyable in like a campy kind of silly way. But how's the sequel?
The same. It's not as good as the original. It's not. Right. I like. It's just like a lot of sequels. It feels like it's treading water a bit, and it tries to open the world up a little too much. I had the moment about it must have been 25 minutes in. I think I might have referenced this before, but you know the episode with Poochie in The Simpsons, and
the one thing that Homer creates, the cartoon,
the rapping dog, put into Itchy and Scratchy, and the Itchy and Scratchy episode opens with Itchy and Scratchy in a car driving down a motorway, and there's a sign on the road that says like fireworks factory. I don't know, fireworks factory 200 miles away or something like that, The fireworks factory sign keeps getting lower and lower and lower, like, you know, next right 100 meters and something like that. And then Poochie interrupts the film, and like Milhouse yells, "When are they going to get to the fireworks factory?" I kind of had that with this film.
Okay.
I kind of had, look, when are they just going to escape from a room? I just want an escape room. I'm bored of the world building. I just want them to just stick them in the escape room. That's what I came here to watch, kind of thing. But overall,
if I remember the end of the first film, the two people survive. They're like, we're gonna get our revenge on the company that
basically
put us in this predicament. And then if I'm correct. The trailer makes it out like the aeroplane they take is like an escape room as well, or something like that. Is that spoilers?
That is spoilers, but that is spoilers.
It's in the trailer.
Yeah, but I don't remember what happens with the plane. The plane's not a big plot detail.
Is it kind of like a thing where is it like you don't even know what escape room is anymore? It's like it's like,
yeah, that's what they're building up. Like
escape room within an escape room within an escape room.
Yes, that's kind of what I was getting frustrated by. Is like
Right,
they get so paranoid they think any room they're entering is going to be an escape room kind of thing. So that's kind of the start of the film, really.
I forgot if I asked you last time. Have you ever done one?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't done one at all.
We should do one. They're quite fun.
Are they?
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I did one for James's stag do. I enjoyed it.
No, I've never done one. Maybe one day I'll escape from a room. But now I'll just be paranoid that they're trying to kill me.
You'll want our friend Maskell in there. I think he'd be good.
Yeah, I think he would be good. It's this type of thing. Yeah, whereas I think I'd just get a bit bored.
You can tell when you're doing a bit shit, though, because a speaker will come over and be like, why don't you try in that corner over there?
Have you tried looking under the phone?
Yeah.
And be like, shut up. Not that dumb. And speaking of, I don't know, that's not a transition. I also watched Dear Evan Hansen.
Ooh.
Oh,
you're happy.
Oh my god. It's fucking calamitous.
Oh, is it really that bad?
Yeah, it really, really is that bad. And like, I liked the play. I went to go see the play. I had a good time. Thought it was fine. It's the themes of the film. The themes of the story are kind of fucked up. And I think they were less of an issue in like 2014 when it was written, kind of thing.
Right, okay.
But also kind of, I think the world of the stage and the setting of it and placing of it on stage is a lot more, it's a lot more, I think it's actually funnier. I think it's lighthearted and it's more kind of set in a lesser real world. Like the stage setting is more like in people's heads. It's like imaginary spaces and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it just reduces the kind of fucked upness of what you're watching, really.
It's a bit more forgiving to the kind of
scenario.
Forgiving.
It's very different when, like, you know, you're close-ups and you're stuffed in a room and stuff like that with the other actors and the camera's panning to them all and Evan Hansen's sitting at a table just like singing on his own with there's barely any choreography in it, like. So right. It's just very, very static with him sitting there singing, and it's really weird and cringy and horrible, really. And it really punches you in the face with the full force of the fucked upness of what you're kind of watching. Where I think when I saw it on stage, you felt that, but it just wasn't as much of an issue. It really wasn't. Also, the decision to have Ben Platt in the lead is so spectacularly incorrect.
Like a 30-year-old man playing a 16-year-old or something.
Yeah, and whatever they've done to him as well. Maybe he's had some work done, which is fine, but I think sometimes if you have a bit of work done, like Botox and stuff like that, it can actually make you look a bit older.
Oh, yeah,
as well.
Yeah.
And I think that coupled with the lighting of him, like the whole thing is lit like a drama and everyone takes it so fucking seriously, like there's so much lighting of him from like below with these harsh lights that just kind of make him look like a fucking sociopath. And his whole performance is so tightly wound and so like tightly wound and twisted that it feels like he's going to fucking snap at any point. Like it feels like he's going to bring a bomb into school kind of thing. That's what his performance feels like. And that is so wrong for what it's so wrong to let you enjoy the film. That's the problem with it. It really heightens how messed up he is. And instead of making him look like a kind of stupid and confused teen that's kind of stumbled into this thing that he can no longer unravel himself from, it makes him look like he's Machiavellian and scheming it.
Right.
It's really messed up, really. Yeah, it's a calamity with Ben Platt as looking 30 years old in high school, like, compared to everyone else, which just makes it worse. And kind of like Cats, you know, like when you watch Cats, you never fucking stop going, God, look at them. All the way.
Yeah, it's just too distracting.
It's the same with Ben Platt. You never get past it. You know, like even towards the end of the film, you were like, fucking look at him. Like, what did they do? Like, how did they think this was going to work? And the ridiculous thing, Ben Platt has been like, the fans wouldn't accept anyone else in this role apart from me. And it's like, bitch, like, your boyfriend did this on stage. like, what do you mean? Like, there's been like so many people doing this. Like, how have you got that egotistical about that role? It's so stupid.
No, I think Caroline's going to want to watch it because she's listened to it quite a lot and she likes the song. She keeps singing this. She sings this one about is it like a baseball mitt?
That's not in the film. It's cut.
Oh, is it not in the film?
Yeah, they cut that one to break in a glove.
She keeps singing that, and I was like, when she kept singing it, I was like, are you singing some sort of emo song from like a pop punk emo song from like the early 2000s? But no,
yeah.
I had to coax it out of her, and I was like, what are you singing? And she's like, oh, it's from Dear Evan Hansen.
It's definitely off its time. That's the problem. Like, it was written about 2014. It was heights of like kind of, I don't know, Tumblr era, and this really fits into kind of like Tumblr era kind of teen stuff. And I think now it feels really weird. And just, you'll see it as well, just the whole setting, shooting, production, the lighting, the decisions on the camera, decisions of Ben Platt's own decisions, they all just mount up to something that's really disastrous.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching that then.
But I think that I did enjoy it when I saw it live. I think it has good fun songs. I think it's okay. I just think that it's the whole setting and production of the film has fucked it up. And I think there was a way to do this. It needed to definitely look like Clueless rather than look like we need to talk about Kevin.
Right, okay.
Which is a very weird decision. It's just they all take it so fucking seriously. And I remember I was sitting there going, I remember when I saw this on stage, there was laughs. Where have they gone? I mean,
you've got a bit of levity.
Quite a lot.
Because it's quite a heavy subject. You've got to have some levity, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. You have to. Otherwise it gets all messed up, really. Those are my watches this week. Oh, I did actually watch. I've also, because we've had the last day of summer. Yeah, we have, because it's now the first day of fall, because September 21st is last day of summer, like the song tells you. I watched all of Gravity Falls.
You watched what, sorry?
I watched all of Gravity Falls. And,
Gravity Falls.
Yeah,
what's
Gravity
that?
Falls, the cartoon.
Is that on Netflix? No,
it's a Disney cartoon. It was on Disney Channel back in like 2012 or something like that.
Oh, I've not heard of this.
It's only 2 seasons, but because it took like 6 months for them to make an episode, it ran from like 2012 to 2016 or something like that.
Okay.
And the Alex Hirsch, the creator, kind of actually ended it. He had a story he wanted to tell and ended it at
nice.
The point that he wanted to end it. And it's it's so good. I fucking love it. And I really recommend it. You'll storm through it if you put it on Disney. And it's a total kids show. There really is. It's a total kids show from 2012 or whatever.
That's fine. I love Adventure Time and stuff. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's incredibly watchable.
What was the other? Steven Universe, is it?
Steven Universe, yeah.
That's
totally
great as well.
And I found out as well that, because Owl House is getting a lot of press now on Disney, and I need to watch that. And I found out it's Alex Hirsch's girlfriend, actually, and she worked on Gravity Falls. So that's kind of cool. So I need to go into that now and kind of find it. And see
Owl House. Like.
Owl House, yeah. It's meant to be really good.
What was this thing that popped up on the interwebs the other week where there's this guy and he's like talking to the camera and he's like, I think he's like a presenter or something on an old Disney kids show or something.
Blue's Clues?
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah.
What was?
Don't you remember Blue's Clues?
No, I never had Sky or anything, did I? So
okay, yeah.
So explain to me what that was all about, because everyone was going, I'm crying right now, and I'm like, what's
it did make me a little bit teary, if I'm very honest, because it was quite sweet. But Blue's Clues was a proper kids show, like a really, really proper kids show, where you just had one presenter in a cartoon house, and he would talk to the screen, and he had a pet dog called Blue, and there was like they'd go on adventures, and it was basically like, as you say, Blue's Clues. There'd be something like, where's the apple hidden, and we'd like kind of Blue would run around the screen trying to find out clues where the apple's gone or something, and all the time the presenter would be talking to you like straight to the screen.
Okay, so
it wasn't like.
So what age is these aimed at then? Like,
oh, I don't know, like toddler, up to like 7 or something like that, maybe younger than that probably. And it was proper like. I saw it because it was always on.
I was going to say, because it started in 96, we were like
96,
12.
yeah. It was always on. Like, so I saw a lot of it because it was always on, frankly. But it was a proper kids show. It was, you know, like properly aimed at like CBeebies kind of stuff.
Right. I'll tell you which one I used to like, just purely for the fact of the costumes. That was it, the Bear in the Big Blue House.
I don't think I know that.
I think it was like I think it may have been by the Henson Company.
Okay.
And yeah, just to look it up. That's what I thought it was all about at first, because it was Blue's Clues. I was like, is that anything to do with Bear in the Big Blue House? But no.
That was after Blue's Clues.
Oh yeah.
I think I've seen this before. That is proper Henson.
I think it's Henson. I'm not sure.
It does look it.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Anyway, this is just two people looking at things on the internet.
Yeah, talking of kids shows from the 90s. Right, shall we get into today's main event?
We can do, yeah, why not?
Alright, so what are we talking about today then, Liam?
We are talking about the 1989 film Ran. Directed by Akira Kurosawa. And I'm going to keep saying it because I think I've got it right. From 1985, I think it was. So it's right in the middle of our little mini-series, actually, isn't it? Right, the smack bag in the centre. What did we do for 85 instead of this?
Was it Vagabond? No?
Oh, maybe it was, yeah. That was around then.
Vagabond. Yeah.
Anyway, Ran focuses on... Actually, Ollie, why didn't you do it? I always do the plot summary. Why don't you do it today?
Oh, no, don't do this to me. I'm not... So, God, I'm going to... All right, let me give it a go. So it's basically based around an elderly warlord who decides to like divide his kingdom between his 3 sons.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the bottom... That's the premise in a nutshell, I guess.
That's it, really, yeah. It's weird. It's like insanely simple, to be honest, for like a 3-hour film.
But it's like it's kind of loosely based on King Lear, isn't it? And I think like is it like I can't pronounce it, Daimyo Murari this is Motonari, which are like feudal warlords, weren't they, or whatever, from the like 10th century. And
16.
They all own different areas of Japan, I guess.
Yeah, Grand Nippon. I will push back on the King Lear thing. This has been all my research. Like, I feel like, because I'm trying to find like Kurosawa in his own words loads, and we'll get into his career, because I think it's really cool that we did Rashomon, which is basically his breakout film internationally, not in Japan, and then like now that was the 50s, and now we're all the way in the 80s, like 30 years later, and we're getting his kind of final films now, and this was his last grand epic, so we almost did like his breakout and his last kind of like hurrah, really. Not his last film, he did a number afterwards, like, but I think it's a really cool book ending, actually, to investigate the guy with, and I think that's kind of fun, especially with his kind of career, because he has like an up and down mental thing. But I was looking for like his own words and stuff, and the thing with this script is he wrote it in the 70s because he was reading all about Mori Motonari, and he was reading about how he was a grand like warlord in feudal Japan, and he had these 3 sons, I think it was, or 2 sons that he kind of gave the kingdom to, and that's just how how history progressed, really. But he was obsessed with the idea of like despair. Really.
Well, I think he just thought like what would happen if they went bad. I think that's what it was.
He was obsessed with nuclear war. That's what he was obsessed with. He was thinking about nuclear war all the time. I think a lot of people who lived through World War II in Japan would be.
Well, and, I guess like, you know, this is like how many years late since then? Was it 30 years? Probably what, 30, 40 years since. And I guess, you know, like I guess like how 9/11 like changed cinema for like 20 years in America, like things like that are gonna.
I think if like, I think if you live through World War II, that never goes away. Yeah. And I think because the spectre of nuclear war didn't go either. It wasn't like because we dropped the bomb, that was the end of it. You dropped the bomb on Japan, and then it was the whole of that latter part of that century was about fucking nukes, really. Like, so I think he's thought about it a lot, and he just wanted to bring that kind of despair of nuclear warfare into the history he'd been reading, basically. So it was just like, what if his sons weren't actually good people to pass the kingdom on to, and what would actually fall apart? But
yeah, he said it was pretty much a metaphor for nuclear war and anxiety of post-Hiroshima.
Yeah.
And like saying that all the technological processes of the last 20th century have just made it so that we're more efficient at killing each other.
Yeah. Him actually finding King Lear was later than the script he wrote. He wrote the script in the 70s, and then in the 80s he found King Lear and realised how much it suited his story, and started kind of weaving elements in.
Yeah, that's fine. So it's definitely has got some like elements of it though, like so I think it's fair to say, I wouldn't say it's like you said, it's probably not fair to say it's based on it, but it's definitely it's got some inspiration from it, like woven into the fabric.
I think that's fair to say. I'm only pushing against it because I think it's a bit I don't know, this might be a dumb thing, but I think one person said, I think like it looks like Sidney Lumet has been really pushing the idea that it's his King Lear, and I don't know if that was Kurosawa's actual intention for it. And I think it's especially relevant when you're talking about someone who might not have grown up with European literary background to their kind of arts.
It's not like Oh Brother Where Art Thou, which is like pretty much the Odyssey, isn't it? But it's not like that.
And it's not like Throne of Blood, which he did as well, which he did say was Macbeth. Like, so he does have that history of Shakespeare adaptation to him, but it just seems to be something that we're putting on him rather than actually the actual like the way the story came together, I think. Yeah. But I just think that's interesting. It's just that, like, especially if you're covering a Japanese kind of director, I think it's to just be like, where you're doing Shakespeare might be a little dismissive. I just felt, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm being too sensitive, like, but the whole history of this film coming together is insane. Like, so like we'll go through it a little bit, and you might know a lot of this, you might not, but so like in the kind of, it was really weird post, like in the 60s Japan, basically new wave in Japan had this idea that in the late 60s in Japan had this idea that kind of the old auteur directors who were worshipped in like America were not worth their money. So like by the mid 60s, Japanese kind of filmmakers and audiences weren't willing to kind of invest a ton of money in their great artists, and they would just treat them no different to any director, any journeyman director, because it was that was their new wave.
Well, I guess it depends on what films are like popular at the time and what are being made. Like, you know, it's like the Western, like, you know, I guess like in the late 60s, 70s, they kind of fell out of favour, didn't they?
Yeah, totally.
And I'm guessing, you know, like, you know, proper epic kind of samurai films were probably kind of seen as a bit old-fashioned by that point, maybe. I don't know, and just kind of...
I think so. Expensive, old-fashioned. I think their way of making films was seen as old-fashioned as well. It's very much like kind of the French New Wave in a lot of sense. Like this idea of things can be done cheaper with younger people, kind of looking at things differently. Really similar sort of like push in Japan in the kind of mid to late 60s.
Giant rubber lizards.
Yeah, exactly. That hit Kurosawa quite hard because he was the kind of institution really of filmmaking. Which led to basically him the kind of, do you know the farce that around Tora?
Well, I know that he was meant to be one of, because it was like kind of half American, half Japanese, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah. And
he was meant to be one of the directors, but he obviously didn't see eye to eye with the producers in some respect. I don't know what happened, but I know was he fired?
He wasn't just fired; it was mental. Like he basically he was accused of being an unhinged tyrant by his crew. There was an instant where he demanded like the entire set was repainted like seconds before they were meant to shoot or something, like, and they're already behind schedule. He got accused of being mentally ill and then got like not committed, but like he got someone like a doctor in America like diagnosed him with some sort of mental illness. So it's one of these. I haven't got it written down.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
It's one of these mental illnesses that I don't think is an actual thing. It was just something in like the kind of 60s, 70s they would just say people have. It's not actually recognised as a particular mental illness. So he was basically accused of being insane and a tyrant and then just kicked off this film. Which is not good. That really hurt him. And from that, like he fell out with his kind of leading cast. His like Mifune, he fell out massively with him.
Did he?
Their last film was Redbeard together, and they never made another film together.
Was that a big
he
flop?
Fell out.
Was that the one that was
I think
big
Redbeard
flop?
wasn't a flop. No, I think Redbeard was quite successful, but they fell out of it after anyway. He then, after Tora, he made this little low-budget independent film called Dodokus. These are the things I just look written down and I have to say them out loud. Dodosukaden. And that was made so cheaply and it still flopped. So that wasn't good. That was 1970. He kind of fell out with his kind of most closely, he's like production assistant as well, like the guy who worked closely on, and kind of that, and because his health started failing and stuff like that, he basically attempted suicide in 1971. Quite properly attempted suicide, like I don't want to go into details, but which led to him just just disappearing for basically the whole 70s. It wasn't until this is the crazy thing about all this kind of films, how it all ties together, and we seem to mention it every episode we record. There's a film that comes out in the late 70s called Star Wars. And it's a big science fiction film, right? And it's influenced by a film called The Hidden Fortress, which was made by Mr. Kurosawa. Like, George Lucas was a huge Kurosawa nerd, but all the kind of new Hollywood people in the 70s were. Like, Spielberg loved him, like Francis Ford Coppola loved him, Spielberg loved him, George Lucas loved him. Like, I think particularly those four, Sidney Lumet, we've already mentioned, they adored Kurosawa films, like, and were basically like, where's Kurosawa gone? Like, I want him back. So they kind of sought him out, really. And they were shocked that he was just completely unable to secure any funding in Japan. Like, he had stopped working. He'd done some small TV or something like that. I think he was shooting. So, like, George Lucas had him flown over in the late 70s to kind of San Francisco and just told him that, like, they were going to get him funding for a film. What do you want to make? And, like, him and Francis Ford Coppola put their names on the, like, production as well. They put their own money up for it as well because they were very successful at that point, and got him to kind of make the film we mentioned earlier, Kajumusha. I wish I knew how to say that. Which we talked before. It's a huge epic film. It's about like a thief getting into a royal court, and it's a samurai film, and a massively expensive budget and scope. It's over 3 hours long. I think it's longer than Ran. And out of like nothing,
it is, yeah. It's 20 minutes longer,
yeah. Out of nothing, this was massive, like a massive success, and that kind of reignited the idea that this guy could shoot something, like could actually be could actually regenerate his career and regenerate these epic films. So from that, they were like, what do you want to make next? And that's when he had Ran, which is this script he'd been bouncing around in the 70s, that he wrote in the 70s, about, like you already said, a man in his latter career stumbling around the wilderness, being accused of being insane, being accused of being like not in control of stuff, like very, very autobiographical, which is again why I think it's important to know those elements of the film rather than just say it's based on King Lear, because it's so based on himself. It's so like autobiographical, and maybe his most personal film. I think Dreams after this might be more personal because they're actually based on his dreams, but up to this point, it seemed like one of his most personal films. And Ran, even now, he couldn't actually secure any funding for Ran. Like, Japan wouldn't fund it fully. So he had to go to a French studio to get the second half of the funding. And it was the most expensive Japanese film ever made at the point. It was something like 11 million it was coming out of. But France then partly funded it, some French studio, which was really... at that point, he was basically living in France and Europe at that point to make this film. And it was really weird then when this film kind of came out. It didn't get nominated for the film itself. Didn't get nominated for any awards. I think it was the film before didn't win anything either in Japan for some weird reasons. But like it wasn't as honoured in Japan as much as he was hoping it would be. And then when it came to the Oscar nominations, because it was partly funded by France and Japan, neither of them submitted it as their film to the foreign language film.
It's so bizarre.
So it didn't get up for either of those Oscars. And basically what happened is Sidney Lumet campaigned for Kurosawa to be nominated for Best Director. Like himself. He did the big campaign and pushed all the money to get him nominated. And that's where he got his nomination for Best Director for this film. Didn't win it, but he actually, at least the film got nominated for something, got some sort of recognition and actually being Kurosawa himself. So it was a really cool kind of, not full stop to his career, but a good kind of like highlight, of that kind of latter career stuff. I've rambled on so much.
But have you seen, I think during the 70s and the early 80s, when he, obviously in his down period, I think he storyboarded the entire film. But they're like paintings, and if you look them up, they are incredible.
I haven't seen them actually, are they?
Honestly, they're beautiful. I'd love to have a few of them, like prints or something, and have them framed.
Oh, really?
Because
yeah.
They look stunning. They look amazing.
They're kind of watercolors, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much.
Or paintings, yeah.
I imagine he hasn't done shot for shot, frame for frame storyboards. I mean, maybe he has, but maybe it's more just to get a feel of the tone and the color. I mean, color is very important in this film, isn't it? And
it really is.
And especially the look of the elderly warlord. What's his name? Hidetora.
You on your own.
Yeah. Anyway, that name. He. I mean, we'll get to it later on, but his face transforms almost throughout the whole film.
Oh,
It kind of gets more and more. It's very theatrical, but
it is. Yeah, proper Japanese theatre.
It's kind of. Is it called No? NOH?
No. No. I don't know.
No,
yeah. Maybe no.
And, but yeah, and in his paintings, or you can see all that in his storyboards, how he's drawn all the characters and stuff like that. Looks great.
It's a film. I think my main takeaway when I was watching it, it's a film that can only be made by a master. Like, this is a film with that requires so much control of every element of it that it is like an old master coming back to do a film. It's can't be made another way.
There are scenes with like 2,000 people in a shop,
incredible,
and like 500 horses or something. I don't know, like 200, 500 horses, lots of horses, and
there were lots of horses.
You know, I've done like short films with 2 horses, and that's really hard. I don't know how you go about doing stuff with that many. Like, it just blows my mind. Like the balls you can have to say, yeah, I'm just gonna shoot this scene where loads of horses like running, people just like keep falling on the floor, like getting shot dead, and like there's one shot
people
later
falling off, like with horses galloping around them, and
I know there's one
blood and just.
There's one in particular when they storm the castle. You know the is it castle? Can you say castle? Anyway, the fortress or whatever. And I don't know if there's a cut in between it, but someone literally falls off the horse and horses are jumping over the body, and I'm thinking, is that a real person or is that a dummy? I don't know. like horses are powerful. You know, if a horse steps on you, it would kill you. So like, especially one jumping with the weight landing on you. Ooh.
It's it's incredible. It's just, and bearing in mind Kurosawa had incredibly failing health as well. Like, I think he was blind in one eye or something. Like,
not only that, his wife died in mid-production, and he stopped for a day to mourn, and then carried on the next day. It's a stroke of just like industriousness, this film. It's incredible that it exists. And I think my other takeaway when I was watching it was like, this might be one of the only times I'm ever going to see something like this. It will never happen again, ever. Like, no way is any studio company saying, yeah, get 2,000 people on horses to fight. I'm trying to think of the last time that would have happened. Like, I haven't seen Redcliffe, you know, by what's his name, John Woo.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm not sure how much of that would have been in camera and stuff, because that's like a big epic Chinese film, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I'm not sure of the grand scale of that, to be honest. I haven't seen it. I'm just
I haven't either. But I can't imagine that shooting something. And when was that made? 2004, maybe.
Yeah. I guess Braveheart.
2008. Like, yeah, Braveheart's a good shout, actually.
Yeah.
Braveheart is a good shout, because Gladiator was full of computer effects.
Yeah, there's a lot of computer effects in that. And I mean, maybe like before that you had, like we've already talked about Barry Lyndon, that had some big sequences, didn't it?
But that was when I was watching this, I thought about Barry Lyndon constantly. That was the biggest thing that I thought it has in relation to any other film I've watched.
Those wide kind of... I don't think he used those... I don't think he used those lenses, you know, those NASA lenses that Kubrick used. But apparently when he shot scenes, he'd shoot a scene with 3 different cameras.
Yeah, 3 cameras.
At the same time with 3 different lenses.
And 3 different cinematographers as well.
Oh, really? So they each had a camera each, didn't they?
That is insane, I'm sorry. But apparently he'd been doing that since the 50s. Apparently he started doing that on Seven Samurai. So that was just the way he shot, which is...
there were a few shots,
amount of effort.
I wasn't sure if they were some sort of matte shot or rear projection, but there's some like where you see like armies like on the hill, like really far in the distance. You know, the one that's a decoy later on. And you see the like 4 horses in the foreground. I wasn't sure if that was somehow like rear projection or something, because it looked amazing. I mean, later on, there's definitely some matte shots with like burning, the fortress burning and stuff. But there's only a few, and apparently,
I think maybe the last scene with the castle on the cliff.
Yeah, but the actual one on fire in the middle or during the big battle, that is actually on fire. But
just that scene, and you've got, I don't know how many men outside. You got men with like in yellow flags. You got men in the red outside of this castle. That is literally on fire, and then you have the main actor stumbling out of it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I've never seen anything like that. I just have like that physicality. Barry Lyndon's the other one. It is like of just that physicality of epicness. I don't know, that I don't know how other way to say it. I mean, it's all physical. It's all there. It's all on camera. It's in crazy. Yeah, master. That's what I keep coming back to. This is when you let a master shoot a film. This is what you end up with. You end up with like Lyndon. You end up with Ron.
Well,
like,
look, he's so well revered that, like, there's a game called was it Ghost of Tsushima, which is on the PlayStation.
Okay.
And it's got an option in the menu it's called the Kurosawa filter, and you put it on, and it makes the game look like a Kurosawa film.
No way! I didn't know that. There's and so, like, some of the stuff that he did for this as well. Like, he had them like paint grass and paint trees and paint like the forest
well, he had a scene where
stuff,
they painted a field gold, but they completely cut it out of the film.
Yeah,
so
not only that, they had an artificial moon for it as well.
God.
They cut the scene.
But apparently that's in a you can see that in a documentary. I think it's called
is that AK?
AK, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't hunt that down. I've really tried, but I couldn't hunt it down.
I think it's a French documentary.
It's probably
if I remember, like, in the 80s, there was a lot of collaborations with like French and Japanese like animation studios. So I don't know if there was some sort of tie with France and Japan that I'm not aware of.
Oh, maybe that might be cool.
Yeah, like,
Japan did put half the money for this, so yeah.
Because you had like cartoons like the Mysterious Cities of Gold and stuff like that, which were like co-financed by Japan and France.
I remember that, yeah.
And even Inspector Gadget as well.
Really?
Yeah.
It's hard to. I think like you were saying, like the kind of plot of the film, because like the production is so just intense, is so massive, is so overwhelming. I think the simpleness of the plot actually helps that.
Especially the intro, because the intro at the beginning, the first like 20 minutes is just. There's only a few people in the film at the beginning, and it's just like in an open field, and you think, oh, it's quite sparse actually, isn't it? Is it going to be like this the whole way through? Quite quiet, but no, it ramps up. But it's really good in help set it, like just kind of setting it all up for you. So you know who the three brothers are. Is it Tango, who's kind of the...
Tango?
What's his name? Not Tango, what's his name?
Taro.
Is it Taro?
Taro?
Hang on.
Oh, you mean okay?
Yeah, Tango, the
Tango.
the advisor.
Yes.
Then you've kind of got the kind of like the fool, or the kind of the jester kind of character.
Yeah.
And then
I think that's the most King Lear thing as well. I think that's one of the biggest things that come from King Lear.
Also, really interesting casting, but I'm sure we'll get to that later on.
Weird casting.
It's interesting though.
Yeah, it is.
But and then you've kind of got the two. I wouldn't say they're. Would you say they're rival warlords?
Depends what you mean. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. You got yeah.
Because they're coming to visit, and one of them wants to marry off their daughter to one of the brothers, don't they? I think.
Yeah. They're like neighbouring kind of like warlords or emperors or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you got I think because the setting of the kind of film is he's dying and wants to give his lands out to his sons. So you got the three sons like Taro, Jiro, and Saburo.
Saburo, yeah. It's worth noting it starts off with like a boar hunt, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's
so
kind of like a little celebration. Like
so they're hunting for the food that they're going to have or something, because they're kind of talking about the taste of the boar and stuff, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think
it's about like Taro. He's the eldest, and he's going to receive the first castle, and the others are going to get the second castle and third castles. Yeah. Hidetora, the old kind of warlord, is going to get he's going to retain the title as Great Emperor, and Jiro and Saburo are meant to support Taro in being the kind of like active ruler, basically like father to son. And immediately what happens, well, he's doing the kind of the kind of normal, like if you put 3 hours together you can't break them kind of thing.
That's a great sequence, though. That is.
It is.
So he basically gives one arrow to each of the sons, and they break them easily. And then they, put the three together, they don't break. But then the one Saburo, he just breaks it with his knee. He doesn't need to kind of like saying that they will turn on you.
Yeah, he goes. You can easily break it if you just put effort in.
It's also worth noting they're kind of coloured as well, aren't they? So one's yellow, one's red, and one's blue, and it's like a really simple way of kind of just knowing who's who and whose army's who throughout the film. And I'm sure that there might be some. I don't know if there's any historical reference to that, or like if it's just purely cinematic, just so it's like.
I think it's purely production design. I think the person who did the production on this, I think, did she win the Oscar, or was she just nominated? But her efforts of the costumes or whatever for this are immense.
The suits of armor are awesome.
Yeah, and I think it would have been her kind of decision maybe to be colouring stuff that way, because I found it confusing to watch. So Emi Wada. She won the Academy Award for Best Costume Design, Emi Wada.
Well, because later on you get black flags and white flags as well, and you're like going, oh, who are these? I assumed they're the other two warlords that were... because the kingdoms are now crumbling and they're coming in to claim it,
because it's all in civil war. I think that was happening. I have to say I watched this over maybe 3 sessions, so it's not the greatest way to watch a film. But I struggled to fit it all in kind of one complete session. So I got a little bit lost exactly what was going on with the kind of different people. But because it is quite a simple film, quite a simple narrative, I should say, it wasn't too hard to just kind of sit back and watch. Like, even if some of the complexities I missed, and I could do with watching it again. But the big thing that kind of happens is, because Saburo breaks those 3 arrows, they're kind of all shocked at him, and then they're not just shocked because he's kind of speaking his mind, but also it's kind of like he's just true. He's speaking like unpleasant truths, and no one needs to hear that right now, kind of thing. Everyone's like comfortable in their kind of falsities, and no one needs you riding on him with your fucking truth bombs. And what happens almost immediately after they give them kingdoms is they all decide to fight each other. And the big kind of, you kind of got 2 elements, haven't you, that come into it now, which really is quite key to understanding it. Is you have the warlord himself. It's kind of like his sins coming back onto him. So Hidetora kind of loses his mind. Like, you get that, you've talked about it, that big fight scene in the middle, not just fight scene, war scene in the middle of the film, which is like burning his castle to the ground, and I think going after Taro, is that right? And what happens in that scene is you just see the devastation of this, of this world. The samurai are kind of, the 16th century samurai are kind of confronted by this power of like the firearm, and instead of it just being like sword fights, which you're kind of used to.
That's what I was quite shocked about, to be honest, because I was expecting a bit more
sword play.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, quite true to the era, which is not normally what people want to present, but quite true to the era. These people ride on him with firearms, and they are absolutely devastating. They're just sitting back and just shooting and killing people, like mountains of them. And because they're in sedentary as well, it's setting fire to everything. So this warlord's castle just starts burning around him, like, no matter what he can do. He comes out of his castle and sees like mountains of army, so he goes back in. He goes to like his room with all his, I'm guessing, wives and concubines, and they're all like slitting each other's throats and murdering themselves.
They're like committing seppuku or whatever. Just kind of
like, we're done. Fuck this. Like, we're
but it's worth noting that basically, because he gives all these like castles to his kids, that he doesn't have a place necessarily of his own. So the idea is he'll go to visit each one and stay with them for a bit, and keep going round and round and round until I guess the day he pops his clogs. But he's also got he's retained his army, so he's kind of got 30 men, I think, that kind of follow him around everywhere. So he goes to Taro, who
it is Taro first,
he gave power to,
and
he's got this wife, and what's her name? Is it Lady Kada?
Yeah, we'll come to her. She's fucking amazing.
And you find out that her family were murdered in this castle because this castle is one that he took over, and killed all the people there. And I mean, pretty much all the wives and that are married off to his sons are all people that he's invaded or killed, families.
Yeah, they're all they're all products of war. That's what I really liked about this film, is that all the despair is, you slowly learn that this guy that we're watching is a horrible warlord. He is a warlord, and all of his past crimes are coming directly to him. It's all comeuppance. It's all karma. It's all a product of him being the warlord that he was, but it doesn't directly show you that. It just keeps kind of falling on him, like Lady Kadai. She's first, I think she's married to Taro, and then when Taro dies, she goes after the next boy. Convinces
she
him to
manipulates him, doesn't she? She manipulates both of them, really, doesn't she? Really,
she manipulates everything. She gets him to try and kill his wife Sue, which I thought was funny. That
she doesn't try. She does.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it is try first, because I think my favourite scene is when the leader of his army comes back to say that he killed Sue and this is her head, and he unwraps it and it's the stone head of a fox. And she's like, "What, are you taking the piss?" And he's like, "What? Oh, she must be a magician. She was a demon this whole time, and she's transformed back into her true form or something." Fucking love that scene.
But yeah, Taro then gets his dad to sign a contract, pretty much, doesn't he? What was it? Is it to kind of just basically saying what was said in the field, wasn't it? That he's giving him all the power, basically, of nothing. Yeah. It's an honorary position. It won't kill you, I think. Why? I can't remember why he's exiled out of the castle at that point.
What, the old guy?
The old warlord. Was he kicked out then at that point? My mind's gone dead.
The main story is basically he goes insane, and as long as he's insane, they don't care. They can just wander the fields forever. If he's not insane, then they're going to kill him because he's a threat to their power.
There is that good scene where the jester kind of character is kind of... Is he riling up the other Taro's troops, and they're all kind of laughing? I'm trying to remember whose troops are who now, because I'm not sure if it's...
I'm not going to help you. It's very confusing.
So I'm not sure if it's one of the bands of troops are mocking Taro anyway, and I think the dad gets a massive bow and arrow and just straight murders one of the... Oh,
from right at the start, you mean? Yeah. He just leans out the window and shoots a bow and arrow through the commander. Shoots an arrow, through the commander, and then just pops back in his little hutch. Shush, I'm going away.
But anyway, he leaves and then goes to Jiro's. But then before that, Jiro's already got a letter from his brother saying pretty much don't let father in, kind of. Yeah, he's gone mad.
He's gone mad. He's, and we're taking over, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Taro's then killed by one of Jiro's generals. That was the Kurogarani.
Well, so he's murdered during the big, huge... Well, they go to the third castle then, which is meant to be Saburo's castle, but because he's been dishonoured and he's got to leave, all of his men have left there, haven't they?
Yeah.
So basically no one's there. So I think then the warlord, the older father warlord, then takes over, goes back to the castle with his men.
Yes.
Then a huge, massive, bloodthirsty battle happens, which is awesome. But the way that Taro is killed, he's just shot in the back. You don't even see his face. It's just his back, and he's dead on the floor. And that's it. You don't see anything. It's not no airs or grace. You don't see his face or his body being buried or anything like that. He's just
ignominy, isn't it? Of just war, And after he's filmed, that's when killed. Then you get Kadai, Lady Kadai, who then turns her attentions onto Jiro, with a great scene when she's like cutting at him with a knife, cutting at his neck, and then like licking at it, and like an animal, just kind of pushing him around, and kind of like pushes him onto the floor to have sex with him, and while kicking his helmet away, and so he's defenseless and stuff, and then getting him to
doors and stuff,
locking all the doors and getting him to kill his own wife Sue and stuff like that. It's so cool. Like, it's very like, you know, Lady Macbeth, I guess.
I love the
way she's made up as well.
Well, she's kind of in that, like, that, what was it? No, well, I can't remember what we said. But anyway, she's got those like
eyebrows,
those eyebrows at the top of the forehead.
Yeah, they make her look like
rage back then.
But I think they make her look like a demon, because they look like kind of horns or something.
Well, I think that's that's where that Noah thing comes into it, like that kind of look.
It really works.
What was I going to say? Something.
And then at that point, you basically just, you know, you get stuff like the Emperor and his fool, and the is it the youngest son that goes with them? Saburo. They're kind of just wandering around these desolate landscapes that used to be his kingdom, basically, like volcanic plains full of all that ashy kind of rock and pumice and like stone and things.
I don't think you see Saburo. The last time you see Saburo is when he's banished and he makes a deal with the other two warlords. I don't think you then see him until near the end, do you? When he kind of comes back in.
Yeah.
I think you see Tango, isn't it? Because Tango comes in and kind of, because he remains loyal to the father.
To the father, yeah, that's right.
And it becomes like a trio of Tango and the fool and the father, doesn't it? And then they're kind of like wandering around, and then they go to that house where they find the blind boy.
Yeah, so first they wander to a castle, and the Emperor slowly like, I recognise this castle. Why do I recognise this castle? And slowly he realised that it was a castle that he burnt down. Like, it could have been a place that he could hide out in now because no one's claimed it, but in his kind of warlord days, he burnt it down.
But this goes back to what you were saying about everything haunting him still.
Yeah, like, and then he wanders into this old little, it's a little like hut, isn't it, that they're demanding entrance to, that looks like on the side of like a barren mountain. And it's that scene where they're like, are you sick? And then he's like, no. And it's like, well, let us in then. And he's like, no. Like, and the guy in there he's the oldest son of a rival warlord, isn't he?
Yeah, his sister is Sue.
His sister Sue, yeah, who's married
to Jiro.
And he was blinded by the warlord, by Hidetora, back in his warlording days, and he was been living like as a blind boy in this like ransacked shed, basically, and they beg for his kind of like they beg for his kindness to let them stay and stuff like that, like, and it is absolutely just about the fact that this guy's horrible life has led to him having nothing at this point, really. I guess it's not a happy film.
Well, do you know, this is how stupid I am. I thought it was called Ran because he's constantly running away all the time. I didn't realise that, like, so Ran kind of means chaos or turmoil, doesn't it? Or the translation.
Something like that, yeah. It's why I think it's Ran, rather than Ran. It's not Ran, like I said last week.
He's constantly running away. But like, I do like his acting though. The because you've kind of got two styles of acting. You've kind of got more modern-ish kind of just acting, but then you've also kind of got that more theatrical, haven't you? Like, especially like by the warlord and maybe Lady Kadai, like. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of very stilted, but then all of a sudden it will like be a flurry of movement, and then it will go back to being very still. And
there's barely any kind of like close-ups in this, really.
It's mostly wides, isn't it?
It's mostly like wides, and it's because I feel like it's shot like that old school theatre, like you're saying. Like, you're seeing these two people on stage being very still, and then with like those flurries of like kind of like panic and flurries of like emotion and stuff.
Well, the camera doesn't really move a whole lot. It's very static, and a lot of people like enter into frame and exit out of frame, as opposed to sometimes the camera following them in or following them out. So there's, I mean, that could add to it feeling a bit slow, maybe. I mean, I didn't think it felt. I thought it moved at quite a pace, but I have seen some people saying it's quite slow, but not necessarily meaning that to be a negative thing.
Yeah, I would say it's deliberately slow.
Yeah. Not
like painfully slow. It's long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an investment to watch the film, but it's not boring at any point, really.
I'd say the one thing I regret is I didn't take in the music because I'm too busy reading the subtitles. I didn't take in the music. I'm quite interested to hear what the music sounds like.
I felt the kind of the same. I was almost willing to say that like it doesn't have a lot of music, but then when you catch it, you really hear it. Like, and it's this mix of like kind of like very traditional Japanese type kind of soundtracky, like punctuating that kind of background sorrow almost. But then it feeds in these kind of things that sound much more like Western, like Morricone kind of types of like composition and music and stuff that tells you that you're watching a kind of 80s like not Hollywood film, but like a Hollywood film kind of, you know, like he's making an international blockbuster, you know. He's and I think the production seems to know that, and the music seems to know that as well. It's fascinating. I want to watch it again. I do. Like, even though it's long, I want to watch it again, because just watching that descent, the lead character, what's the lead actor's name again? Tatsuya. He's he was, I think he was 50 when they shot this.
Yeah, he's still alive. He's 88 now.
Wow, because he's playing basically someone who's like 88.
Yeah.
His kind of descent into like madness is so awesome. Like it's it's not just like it's not a little kind of subtle thing. It's just literally like a body shutting down. He goes from looking not young in the film, but he's looking like an emperor, until looking like an absolute haunted ghost of a man, like a beggar, you know, on the street or something. And part of that is absolutely the makeup. They ply him with like white makeup and deep lines on his face, and
his eyes,
and like not prosthetics but sunken eyes. Yeah, and he definitely plays into that of just like letting his whole body just like drop with energy, and he just looks like the saddest kind of person, just dragging around this hellscape of his own making, like. And just having that whole thing fall on him, and his only companion is the fool, who is basically taking the piss out of him at every point he can, really. Even though with a lot of love there, I think, but really he's the kind of fool spending his time just taking the piss, really, and just saying like, you know, how stupid and dumb and insane you are now, really. Like putting
it's almost like the shoes
on him, and
it's almost like the shoes on the other foot now, isn't it? Now you're the stupid.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But like there's one scene where, like, you know, we said earlier, like he goes to that the house of the blind boy, but he's literally being carried by Tango, and he's just drenched, like soaking. I don't even know if he's wet, but he just looks like he's like I don't remember a point him in water, but he looks like he's just drenched, and I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. He's just completely just like just drowned man, like just drowned from himself because of that. Like,
I swear his hair gets longer as well. I don't know if it's just his hair's coming out of the tight bun that it was in before, and it's just slowly kind of shredding out. He looked like a bit like Billy Connolly by the end.
He's unwinding. I think that's part of, again, the King Lear thing is King Lear's always kind of depicted in that kind of long white beard and long white hair as well, and I think that's another thing they really played up with. But also that's a very thing in like kind of Japanese cinema anyway, the kind of the old master with the long white beard and stuff like that. I think like that's definitely a product of Japanese cinema as well, rather than anything. Like, but they definitely play it up. Yeah, totally. But they definitely play it up. He's not the master anymore. He's just like dishevelled mess, and just the makeup has to be just seen to be believed. And I think maybe seeing photos might look a bit crazy, but actually just seeing it on film and moving and stuff like that works so well. Of just heightening whatever he was going for, heightening this weird, horrible world that he's invented for you to find this story in. It's hard to say it's anything else, really.
I thought he died at the very beginning because, like, he's having like they're all sitting down eating the food,
he did.
and he just kind of like I thought, was he being poisoned or something? Has something happened to him? But no, he just kind of, because he's old, he fell asleep.
Yeah, and they put a little tree over him.
Oh yeah, to kind of shade him. I forgot about that. They cut down some. Which brother does that? Is it the blue brother?
The blue brother. It might be.
Is it Sub-Zero? It wasn't Scorpion.
It's Sub-Zero, not Scorpion.
Ermac. Ermac. Is Ermac the red one?
Yes. See, if we'd just done that from the start, this would have been much easier to talk about.
We've got Noob Saibot in there, the black one as well. I don't know if there is
the black one coming in.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you cracked the code. What this film's really about.
Mortal Kombat! Dun, dun, dun. I still need to watch that. No, I don't really.
No, you don't. No, you really don't. No one needs to watch it. Kurosawa totally believed. I just did it. Kurosawa totally believed that this was going to be his last film as well. He said, like, I put all my energy into this. So, like, you know, I put everything I have into making this. And I think you can just tell that this is a guy just, like, fighting with I don't know, just one refinement of anything he's done beforehand, really, any of his previous, like, samurai films, putting that into colour, because most of his films are black and white up until his, like, later ones, like, and boy did he use the colour when he got the opportunity. He's like, have it. I know, and watching it felt like I was watching a colour film for the first time. It felt like audiences watching, like, Oz or something, because it just
I've
the
just
colour was
discovered
used
green.
in a way that people don't
Green
use
everywhere.
it, you know? And we're just so used to it now, and this guy's like, look at this colour. Look what you can do. Like,
well, I guess, you know, if you've only made, well, I think he only made 4 films from the late 60s till the late 80s, so, like,
sure,
I guess, you know, colour was a new thing for him, I guess.
A new tool thing to play with.
Yeah,
maybe.
So where did we get to in the plot, like our rubbish plot synopsis that we've been doing?
We're stumbling through a volcanic landscape of death that we're trying to find the plot about. Yeah. I think so. We're basically at the point there's a second battle, isn't there? So Lady Kadai is now with Jiro. Jiro is hunting Sue, and Saburo's army comes back into Jiro's territory to find him. And Jiro also finds out that, you say, the other warlords are coming in as well to attack him. Like,
well, he's made a deal with them, though, hasn't he? I think.
No, I think it's the brothers make a deal first.
Oh, I thought Saburo did
rival warlords.
I thought they made a deal with the rival warlords earlier on, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
And then you get kind of Saburo then gets really alarmed when you keep calling him Tango comes in. And he tells him that his father's gone mad, and Saburo's like, oh right, we need to go rescue my dad.
No, it's they find the fool, don't they, in the kind of volcanous area. Volcanous? That's not the word. What is it?
It'll do.
It'll do. Anyway, they ride off, don't they, to try and find the father. But then while a battle ensues between Jiro's red team and the Saburo's blue team, who then hide in the woods and just like shoot the shit out of them.
Honestly, yeah, like, yeah. They really do. That's the scene when they're just all the kind of charging with the horses, aren't they? And
yeah, you pretty much just see horses' feet just galloping like past the camera, and just bodies just falling, just non-stop falling.
Yeah,
you don't see much blood, but like when you do see blood in this film, I love it. It's that proper like poster paint, like bright red poster paint.
And it just spurts out of people in the most wonderful way. There's a bit, I think it's when the lady kills someone and they're lying on the floor and there's just blood going into the air. Like,
I do like it when later on when Lady Kadai gets killed and like they do that's one time when they use the sword and and it does that kind of like quick pan up before like you see the sword like slash and just the blood like perfectly hits the wall.
Yeah, that's fucking good. This film is good.
It is very good.
So Saburo runs off. I keep wanting to call him Sabutio. I don't know what Sabutio is.
It's the football game where you flick it with your finger.
Oh yeah, the little weird men on rollies. Yeah. He runs off to go find his dad, and Jiro sends like snipers off after him. So Saburo finds his dad, and he's like, "Hello, Dad. You know, I'm going to save you." And then he just gets sniped.
Yeah. Well, no, because the dad kind of has the. It's a bit like Grandpa Simpson when he hangs out with Homer, like when Homer's about to die. Well, Homer thinks he's going to die from the blowfish.
Okay.
And they're like, how about a game of hacky sack? You know, and he kind of bonds with his dad for it.
Yes.
They have that little
like
moment. But then he's murdered straight away. And then because of he can't get over the one son that will kind of like...
He's had a bit of a week.
Forgave him, like he just dies there and then. But it's like the most proper like arms in the air, like
it's so good,
theatrical kind of death.
And just kind of like falls down dead upon Saburo as well.
Yeah,
and great. That's so at that point everyone's dead.
So you don't see, because then Sue, Lady Kadei has now had Sue murdered, who is Jiro's old wife.
Yeah, because Sue and her brother are kind of adventuring. Her brother's the blind guy.
Yeah.
She realizes that she'd left the stove on. Why does she go home? Oh, because she wants a flute. She forgets a flute. So she goes home to get a flute.
Because I think Jiro's commander, I've forgotten his name, who's the one who's meant to kill her, I think he warns her that they're trying to murder her, so you've got to go.
Yeah, that's why they leave.
I think
she goes.
Lady Kadei sent another team out to go and kill her.
Yes. So when she goes to get her missing flute, she goes back to the little blind guy's hovel, and she's ambushed by Jiro's assassins then and killed.
Yeah.
At the same time...
But I feel bad for him, because obviously he's got no one around. He's got no one. She gives him a picture to keep him company. I'm like...
bleakest fucking ending.
I know.
Just like, come on. Yeah, he gives him a picture of Buddha to keep him company while she goes off to get a flute. It sounds so silly saying it out loud, but it works. So Jiro then goes... Jiro's armies runs back to the first castle. He's been chased by one of the warlords, the outer warlords. And the general confronts Lady Sue up in the first castle, and Lady Kadei, sorry, yeah. He confronts her, and she admits basically that the entire thing was a plot because... Hidetora was the worst warlord in the world, and he and the whole clan, the Ichimonji clan.
I mean, it was pretty obvious what she was doing. It wasn't like it was, it's very operatic that she wasn't really.
Yes.
The way she manipulates Jiro, like saying, now we've had sex, I don't think I can bear another woman that has even had sex with you being alive anymore. That's why she must die.
Yeah.
It's kind of like...
And she was like, well, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Although when he thinks that the head's going to be revealed, either he knows that she's not being killed, and that's why he's gripping hold of that wooden kind of little table.
Yeah.
Or he was expecting to see her dead head and was just
I think he was
prepping
himself. Yeah, he was bracing for impact. Yeah, so at that point, she reveals that it was all a plot to fuck everything up. She doesn't care if she wins. She doesn't care if she dies. She just hopes that every single member of his family and his whole kingdom crumbles to the ground. Which, fair play. Girl, I just think girl boss, basically.
Yeah, totally.
Go for it. That point, the general gets really mad and kills her, as you said. That's the blood splattering on the wall, and at that point the whole army kills each other as well. Jiro, the general, all of Jiro's men, all just die in battle with the kind of warlord, the invading warlord's army. That's the end of the film.
Yeah. Oh no, the end of the film is you see the blind
Yeah,
blind guy on the edge of like the demolished castle, just kind of like staggering around. He looked like a puppet. I was thinking, is that a puppet?
Yeah, he does look like the way he kind of hangs.
Yeah,
like yeah.
And then he drops his picture, so he's got nothing now. You're like, oh, and you think, oh, is he just going to fall off the edge? But no, he doesn't fall off the edge.
Well, it's like the spinning top in Inception. Like does he fall or not? What's his end? Literally, this film ends with the distant shot of this blind guy just alone, silhouetted against like these ruins, on the precipice of like these castles.
Yeah,
precipice. And yeah, everyone's dead, and a funeral procession. Like I don't know, it's so bleak.
The last time you see Tango is when he's carrying the dead body of the warlord and Saburo. Is that it? Because you find out that they technically won the battle or whatever, but is that it? Because like then they have,
I think that's it.
So does his army then just disband? Is that it? Is that the end for their army? Or do they join another? I have no idea.
I think
the politics.
I think there's no. They wouldn't be attacking the invading warlords. There's only about like they've only got like 20 men by that point, haven't they? Like if that. I think they're defeated. It's the end of this kingdom. I think what we're seeing.
But they ran up to him, and go, "We won."
We won, I guess.
But no, it's very good. I mean,
it's just nihilist, isn't it? Like it's
just that image of the warlord in his that third castle, and there's just flaming arrows, just kind of just going left and right of him all the time, and then he's kind of like he's trying to find a dagger everywhere.
That scene when he's
try and murder himself, and he keeps because his own sword broke.
Yes.
And then everything he finds is not a knife or a blade. I'm surely he could grab an arrow and just like cut his own throat or something. But
that's so funny when he goes out to fight those people off and his sword breaks and he just kind of looks at them and turns around and goes back inside.
So
yeah, and it's that meme, you know, with the dog with the house on fire and everything's fine. He's just in that castle, like with everything on fire around him and arrows going in and out the windows and stuff falling down and people killing themselves in different rooms, and he's just wandering back and forth, going, "Oh my god!"
Because you know, before all that, before he goes into that castle, he and his men are like really hungry and stuff, and then I think Tango finds them and he brings them food.
Okay.
Does he say, "Come to Saburo, he'll look after you"? And he's like, "No, I don't want to be anywhere near him," or whatever. Is he still his? Was it Saburo or was it another?
It was Saburo that broke the arrows. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know that.
Saburo but I think
like,
that's what you mean. He didn't want to go to him for any help because he was dishonorable or something.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was him or one of the other warlords. I can't remember. It was like basically someone said he could take refuge there, and I've forgotten which one it was. But
and he's like, "No, he was rude at dinner. Didn't you see what he did? All my friends were there, and he was a stubborn little boy."
But I like the scene when they find him in that open kind of volcanic kind of area, and he's like lying there dead, and he's trying to crawl into that like hole or cave.
Yes. This film's great. This film is so good.
It is really good.
I like it when the fool makes him a little silly hat out of grass, and then like his general comes up and just
takes it off.
That gives the fool a little look like, stop it, like we're meant to respect this guy. There's so many phrases in it as well, like it's like is there no God or Buddha in this world? God and Buddha are nothing but mischievous urchins, and they're so bored in heaven that they enjoy watching men die like worms. Is it so amusing to see and hear human beings cry and scream, and human beings seek sorrow, not happiness, and prefer suffering to peace? All this fucking like lines from this film are just so Kurosawa was in a bad place when he wrote this, like this, and just like kind of like Sidney Lumet describes him as like the Beethoven of movie directors, like, and he says how like he plays everything with that kind of mastery of control, and for him to kind of take something like this, you know, a movie that he painted, you know, you already said that he painted like the film out before making it. He just took those paintings and created this over the top, like surrealist, depressing like story, analogous to kind of the idea of nuclear war, like the whole like the fact that half it's set on like this kind of volcanic wasteland is not an accident, you know. It's about fallout, it's about like the end of the world, you know, like the fact that this technology of the, you know, the guns in this, but in our life we're talking like massive weapons, creating just a fallout where no one gets what they want and all the sins come round again, for whatever you try and build, you know, whatever capital you try and build throughout your life will come and grab you, is a hell of a dark just fucking thing. And like Beethoven, when Beethoven wrote his darkest music, it's a master like writing this, the darkest thing he could write, you know.
Yeah.
And just playing it with so pristine kind of effort that it creates a masterpiece, really.
I just sent you a link to in the chat to his storyboards. But if you look at the picture, it's like you see 3 cameras with the 3 DPs and stuff like that.
Oh my god, yeah. How did he shoot?
So
like
it's
that?
literally the same angle, pretty much. But with but if you have a look at the link, you'll see like his storyboards. They're amazing. I'd love to get like one framed or something.
Yeah, so they're obviously painted. Like, I'm guessing watercolors. I don't know, but like they're not washed out. They're bold colors. They're really rough. They're kind of sketchy as well. They look frenzied almost.
Oh yeah, they look manic. You know, just the use of red alone, like the amount of red. Like red is such a fucking hellish color, isn't it? And it's like
those scenes with the grass wafting and there's just hundreds of horses and with flags on their backs. And
well, if you think about it, like red and yellow, like together, like make orange, and they're like fire colors, aren't they? So it's almost like they're the destructive kind of the 2 destructive characters, but then you've kind of got blue, which is like the calming, cooling one. Even though he seemed a bit more brash at the beginning, he was just trying to help his dad, really, wasn't he? Like, you know,
well, he was he was giving brutal warning. He was doing enough of your like poxy kind of like philosophy. You can break 3 arrows. Like it doesn't mean anything if you try. This can end. You can't just give it all away, I think was meant to be his warning. That shot of is it Jiro on the floor with Lady Kadai over him, that painting, and that just the wafting of the clothes that kind of spread out below them, all their robes and stuff like that, and you got her face painted white with the red eyes and the eyebrows and stuff like that, with a knife to her neck. Like, I don't have that in my head that I could picture a film, you know, like that's
what do you mean? If you were to write one, you mean, or and then
like that's not how I picture stuff, you know. That's what separates me from being a director. I don't have that, like, that I can picture how stuff looks. It's amazing to me that he could draw these years before actually making the film, that he has it all laid out, how he wants things to look, how he wants things to feel, like that it all narratively connects. It's remarkable films get made.
I mean, it's obviously a passion project. You have directors like, you know, who just have, like, you know, look at Stanley Kubrick. He was trying to make AI for a long time, didn't he? And obviously, sadly, he passed away before he could make it. But, you know, he probably did a lot of work on that film. You know, probably did storyboards and all kinds of stuff. And thankfully, he got to see this through.
Yeah, and I think the world's better for it. I think how brilliant that this was made, and easily could have not done. You know, the story I was trying to tell at the beginning was the fact that he almost just disappeared into not ignominy, maybe, but maybe he felt like ignominy. Maybe he felt like the wandering, you know, like emperor in this, like with all his friends and family, his collaborators all abandoned him. Maybe he felt the same like this. Like, I think it's easy to draw those parallels. And quite, if it wasn't really for, I don't want to, you know, give too much credit for them, but the kind of new 70s filmmakers who wanted to see Kurosawa make films, they helped, you know, make this. They helped this being created, really.
Well, yeah,
and I think that's a really cool story.
Well, I mean, if you think, like, long films weren't made for a while, like they, you know, kind of like you had your 90-minute kind of films, but then kind of like you know, your Coppolas and that started to do their 3-hour long films, and that they kind of wanted to do epic films again, didn't they?
Yeah.
And like, you know, and what a better person to kind of come back and start doing these epic films again.
I also think as well, like, we're talking the 70s and then into the early 80s. It's a time before, like, the internet. I know that sounds silly, but like, if you're sitting in, like, I don't know, San Francisco, and you've just written your new, you know, Coppola film, and you go like, I love that Japanese filmmaker that I used to grow up watching his films. What happened to him? You don't just type into Google like Kurosawa and find out what he's doing. You know,
have to literally find out. You have to go and search for him, don't you?
Yeah.
Like,
and it takes people of means, you know, it takes people who have been successful filmmakers, who have money, to have like people working for them, and connections to the industry as well. Maybe connection to the Japanese industry as well, to be able to kind of hunt him down, you know, friends and colleagues, you know, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon to go find him. Yeah. And that was a product of the kind of 70s boom in New Hollywood, that they had that ability to go find him, and they had the avenues of funding to be able to get him to like make films again. And he did. It's wonderful. And he made like kind of the latter part of his career after this. This wasn't his last film. He kept on making films into the kind of 90s. I think it was Steven Spielberg was a big pusher of some of his last films as well, as long with like Scorsese. So he made Dreams, which Scorsese's actually in. He made
a Shark's Tale.
Good point. He made Rhapsody in August as well, and he made is it Madeo? I think maybe was the last one, and he was still working right up until the end. He was working on writing scripts. He ended up getting quite injured. He ended up breaking his spine, so he couldn't move anymore. So his last few years were like he was in a wheelchair, but he kept on writing. So he wrote 2 scripts. One's called The Sea Is Watching, and one's called After the Rain. Both of those got made after his death. After the Rain actually stars his grandson in one of the roles, which I think is really cool. And he never got to see them made, but after his death, you know, they've still been made, and he's undeniably the titan of like Japanese film, really, out of everything.
Well, I mean, especially to like Westerners, like,
yeah, exactly.
You know.
Like on the international stage, really. I think it'd be different maybe if you actually in Japan.
I'm trying to think of names that pop up into bed. Takeshi Miike's one.
Sure.
I mean,
crazy career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I think he's amazing, and I want to keep watching. I need to keep watching his films. I have not seen enough, and I need to keep watching more. I think, like,
yeah, 100%.
I need to watch Hidden Fortress. That's the embarrassing one I haven't seen.
Yeah, I've only seen the 2. Hold My Hands Up. I've only seen. What did we watch? My mind's gone dead.
Rashomon.
Yeah, so I've only seen Rashomon and Ran, or Ron. But yeah, definitely I need to see the Seven Samurai and
Seven Samurai good. Another long one. He did not make short films. Seven Samurai is like 3.5 hours long.
Probably what Rashomon's probably his shortest one, maybe.
Yeah, I think it is. That's only 88 minutes, and I think Throne of Blood, his like Macbeth one, is only an hour. It's hour 50, I think. Like, so that's a normal length for a film.
Yeah.
But yeah, he made epics, and it was crazy. He came back and made another 2. I think, really.
So what would you give this one out of 5 then?
I've been struggling actually, because I need to watch it again. Really, I need to watch it in one setting and really just absorb it. I didn't have the best watching experience of it, so but over the last like kind of day and 2 days, I've let it sink in, and I think honestly it's 5. Like, why isn't it? Like, it's it's why is like sometimes there's a film that just demands a 5, I think, like, and you're watching it going, yeah, fuck, like, how isn't this a 5? If any film has to be a 5, look at it. Like, just spend some time with it. It's not. I think maybe it's the fact that it's so depressing made me a little bit lower on it when it finished. I don't think you finished this film with a good attitude, and I think then letting that sink in over the past day and a half, whatever, made me go, yeah, that was pretty special. One of the more special films I've watched. Yeah,
I think for this decade, for some reason, I've just ended up having to watch a lot of the films on my laptop for various reasons. So, like, you know, I think, you know, Moonstruck and Ruthless People and stuff like that I've watched on the laptop. But the last few I've managed to watch on my big screen TV. So watch Do the Right Thing on the big screen. But this I watched on the big screen, and, you know, you can't watch this like on a laptop. If you watch this on a laptop or something, what are you doing? You've got to watch this on like a biggest screen you could possibly see it on.
That's it. I watched this on my monitor on my computer, actually, so it wasn't the best watching experience. So I'm going to give it another watch.
Yeah, you've got a big screen TV, haven't you, downstairs? Get it on there.
I do. I do. But we also have bands that play.
Oh, okay.
So it would drown out the TV if I watched it down there when I was trying to watch this.
You got some Bluetooth headsets or something you can put on, and you.
Yeah, probably could actually. Yeah, didn't think of that.
But yeah, I'd give it a 5 as well out of 5. Very good film.
Yeah,
and like you said, I would like to watch it again and kind of probably pay more attention to the visuals, because I was so like just read, because he's quite wordy. Is Akira Kurosawa? There's a lot of dialogue, I think, in his films.
Sure.
Or I'm probably just noticing that just because I'm having to read it all. But like I'd like to just kind of like.
It's poetic as well, though. It's not very simple. Like it's flowery. I think.
But I'd like to just take in the visuals, because I thought it looked really nice.
Yeah, it does.
So what we talking about next week then?
Well, yeah, I've said it before, but I didn't quite realise our 2 bonus episodes were both Japan when we put them together. But we're going from like the great last epic of this to the first great epic of animation, maybe.
I'm sorry, but you could have had a better setup than that. You could say we're going from one Akira to another.
Okay, we're going from one Akira to another.
Anyway, sorry.
All that stays in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing Akira, which we'll talk about it. The impact this film had, it cannot be downplayed. It really cannot. Like,
we have seen Akira. Akira's part of our like.
Yeah, Akira's our rewatch. Yeah, rewatch classics.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it next week, but I still will never forget the first time I ever saw Akira. I was like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, I mean that in a good way. I was like, as a 10-year-old boy, when anime first came like over to our shores, like in the early to mid 90s.
Sure, we'll talk about it. Manga.
Yeah.
The manga company.
It was just like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, Akira. I have not seen it. I don't think I've seen it since I was a teenager. And I will say that my overriding memory of it is I didn't understand it, but I liked it.
It's one of those films I know I love. I haven't seen it probably in about 20 years, and I've owned it on video, DVD, Blu-ray. I haven't watched it on DVD. I haven't watched it on Blu-ray. So
I owned the comic as well. So.
Have you? What? Like all of it?
Yeah, I had a pirate flag version.
Okay, you sailed the high seas for it.
Sailed the high seas. I've never read it though. I'm not going to read it.
Well, I think you should read it for next week.
I'll start now. I'll just hide away.
It's that mad like black and white art, isn't it? But it's like hyper detailed, and you're like thinking, "Oh my god, this might be a visual headache to read." It's like From Hell. I find that book really hard to read because it's just black and white, and it's just so much detailing. I'm thinking, "Oh no," and like the panels are tiny though in From Hell, and you're like going, "Oh god, it's so wordy." And Alan Moore.
Anyway, we'll talk about Akira next week. It should be a mess when we talk about it.
Kaneda!
To Taika Waititi, hands off. That's all.
Oh, is he still
I don't know.
scheduled to make that film?
I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? We'll talk about the remake. We'll have to, because it's so intrinsic to the fallout of this film that they keep trying to make it like. But yeah, Akira, I can't wait. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait to rewatch that. And thanks for listening, and please don't forget to rate, review and subscribe. You can reach out to us on Twitter. We are at AdjustYourTrack. That's with a YR, not a your. And yeah, don't forget, if the picture's bad, always adjust your tracking.